They said the new Egyptian museum was the safest place in Cairo, a magnificent masterpiece of history and unparalleled security. But when the lights go out, the past doesn't just whisper, it wakes up. And it remembers. It was 2:13 a.m. when Omar, a young night guard, began his usual patrol. He was still new, having worked there for only 2 weeks, but the routine was already second nature. The grand halls were silent, filled with ancient statues that seemed to watch his every move from the deep shadows. They were just stone and gold, he told himself, relics of a bygone era. Now silent sentinels in a modern fortress, but tonight, something felt different, an unusual chill hung in the air, a cold that seeped through his uniform and settled deep in his bones. He pulled his collar tighter, a nervous habit. "Why is it so cold in here?" he whispered, his voice barely disturbing the profound silence, as if in answer. The overhead lights flickered, once, twice. Then, with a final, hesitant buzz, they died, plunging the entire wing into absolute darkness. The comforting hum of the electrical systems faded into nothing, leaving an oppressive, suffocating silence. And then, a new sound emerged from the void, a soft, sibilant whisper, speaking in a language that hadn't been uttered by a living tongue for 3,000 years. Omar fumbled for his flashlight, his heart hammering against his ribs. He switched it on, and a narrow, trembling beam cut through the inky blackness. The light danced across polished floors and stone pillars before landing on a massive, reinforced glass case. Inside rested the Sarcophagus of Neb-Ra, a recent, extraordinary find. Still sealed after millennia, but the glass wasn't clear. It was fogged, as if someone had just breathed against it from the inside. He took a hesitant step closer, his breath held tight in his chest. As he stared, a shape began to form in the condensation. A handprint. A perfect, 5-fingered handprint, pressed firmly against the glass, from the inside. A sharp gasp escaped Omar's lips. A sudden noise echoed behind him, the scuff of a footstep on marble. He spun around, swinging the flashlight beam wildly into the darkness. Nothing. There was nothing there, just the silent rows of statues, their impassive faces carved from stone. But, wait, he swept the beam back. Hadn't that statue of Anubis been facing the other way just a moment ago? He could have sworn it had. His mind was playing tricks on him. It had to be. The ancient chant grew louder, no longer a faint whisper but a chorus of voices, echoing through the marble corridors, seeming to come from the very walls themselves. Panic began to set in. A shadow glided across the far wall, impossibly tall, disturbingly thin. Its form indistinct but eerily familiar. Wrapped in what looked like ancient bandages, Omar didn't wait to see more. He ran. He sprinted toward the main exit, his footsteps pounding a frantic rhythm on the floor. But the museum had become a labyrinth. Every hallway he took, every corner he turned, seemed to lead him right back to where he started, the cavernous Hall of Kings. And there, standing directly beneath the magnificent, gleaming golden mask of Tutankhamun, it waited for him. The mummy. Its burial wrappings were frayed and stained with the dust of ages. It raised a dry, skeletal hand, pointing a single, accusatory finger directly at Omar. Its voice, when it spoke, was the sound of sand and forgotten time. A rasping whisper that filled the entire hall. "Return what was stolen." Confused and terrified, Omar stumbled backward, his hands held up as if to ward off a physical blow. He dropped his flashlight. It clattered to the floor and rolled, its beam spinning wildly before coming to rest. The light illuminated a small, golden object that had fallen from his pocket, a scarab amulet, intricately carved, shining with an otherworldly light. He stared at it, a wave of cold dread washing over him. He had no memory of taking it. He had never seen it before in his life. The very foundations of the museum began to shake. The walls trembled, and a fine, ancient sand began to pour from the ceiling, cascading down like a cursed hourglass, counting down his final moments. Omar opened his mouth and screamed, a raw, primal sound of pure terror, but it was swallowed by the growing darkness and the roar of shifting stone. The sand fell faster, a torrent now, burying everything in its path. When the morning shift arrived, the first rays of dawn were just beginning to filter through the high windows. They found the museum hall silent once more, eerily pristine. The sarcophagus of Neb-Ra was sealed tight, its glass clear and untouched, and Omar was gone, vanished without a trace. The only thing they found was his flashlight. Lying on the floor in the Hall of Kings, it was still on, its fading beam pointing at a single, freshly carved word on the marble floor: cursed. So next time you visit the new Egyptian museum, take in the beauty, marvel at the history. But if you find yourself alone in a quiet hall, and you hear whispers that seem to drift between the statues, leave. Don't hesitate. Just leave, before they notice you too. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our next descent into the unknown. Stay safe out there.